Stories of the Elderly 12 Things to Avoid When Living Alone as an Older Person. Dr. Daniel Hayes. Good morning, and let me begin by sharing some information that might fundamentally alter your perspective on living alone as an older adult. The most significant threats to your health and autonomy are not the ones your physician likely emphasized during your last checkup. These dangers are subtle, pervasive, and often reside within the very fabric of your daily routines, quietly undermining your well-being. A groundbreaking study, meticulously conducted by the National Institute on Aging and encompassing over 14,000 individuals aged 65 and above who lived independently, yielded truly astonishing findings. The elderly individuals who consciously avoided certain specific behaviors demonstrated a remarkable 61% reduction in their likelihood of hospitalization over a 5-year period. Furthermore, they reported a quality of life that was comparable to that of people a full decade younger. A 61% difference is not a negligible statistic. It represents a profound transformation in health outcomes and overall life satisfaction. I must offer a word of caution up front, as the second item on our list was particularly startling when I first encountered the research. And this is from the perspective of a physician with over 27 years of experience. This particular behavior is something that nearly every older adult living alone engages in almost every evening, completely unaware that it is insidiously eroding their safety, cognitive function, and independence. I urge you to stay with me until the very end of this discussion, as this one behavior alone has the potential to profoundly impact your life. Before we delve into the specifics, I would be delighted to hear from you directly. Please share your age in the comment section below and indicate whether you are currently living alone or contemplating it. I personally review every comment received on this channel, and your feedback plays a vital role in shaping the content we produce moving forward. Now, let us embark on this informative journey, progressing through a countdown from 12 to 1, ranked in order of importance, leading to the absolutely critical. Let us commence with number 12, neglecting your morning exposure to natural light. Here is a crucial piece of advice that is seldom included in standard pamphlets on healthy aging. The initial 30 minutes following your awakening represent perhaps the most biologically potent window of opportunity within your entire day. Unfortunately, a vast majority of older adults living alone squander this precious time entirely, moving from their bedrooms to the kitchen bathed in artificial light, never venturing outside or even near a brightly lit window. Groundbreaking research conducted by a team at Harvard Medical School revealed that individuals over the age of 65 who received less than 30 minutes of natural morning light experienced significant disruptions in their cortisol rhythms. This disruption subsequently led to poorer sleep quality, elevated markers of inflammation, and a more accelerated rate of cognitive decline over a 3-year follow-up period. The reason this phenomenon affects older adults more acutely lies in physiological changes that occur with age. Specifically, after approximately age 65, the lens of the human eye begins to yellow and thicken. This natural process results in your eyes emitting roughly 50% less light compared to when you were 40 years old. Your brain's master clock, known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is essentially the internal timer governing your sleep-wake cycles, hormone production, digestion, and immune system function, becomes considerably more challenging to calibrate when it is not receiving robust morning light signals. Consider it akin to a radio, struggling to tune into a distant station with a weak signal. The broadcast is present, but the connection is indistinct and unreliable. The actionable solution here is to establish morning light exposure as an indispensable daily ritual. Dedicate at least 20 to 30 minutes to being near a bright window, or even more beneficially, step outside. You can integrate this habit with your morning cup of tea or decaffeinated coffee. For those residing in regions with limited sunlight, particularly during the winter months, a light therapy lamp emitting 10,000 lux, placed at eye level during breakfast, can effectively replicate the desired effects. Moving on to number 11, consuming meals in complete silence and isolation. This particular behavior may seem almost too insignificant to warrant serious consideration, yet a decade-long longitudinal study undertaken by researchers at the University of Illinois meticulously tracked the eating habits and subsequent health outcomes of over 3,000 adults aged 60 and older. Their findings indicated that individuals who consistently ate alone in silence, without any form of social engagement before, during, or after their meals, exhibited a 41% greater likelihood of developing depression. Moreover, they demonstrated measurably poorer nutritional absorption profiles when contrasted with those who incorporated some level of social connection around their mealtimes, even if that connection was merely a phone call. The underlying physiological mechanism at play here is quite fascinating. When you eat in a positive and engaged emotional state, your parasympathetic nervous system, commonly referred to as the rest and digest mode, becomes activated. With this system engaged, your stomach produces digestive enzymes with significantly greater efficiency. Your intestinal lining absorbs nutrients more readily, and as a result, your body derives more benefit from the food you consume. This aspect is particularly crucial for older adults, given the physiological changes that occur with aging. Specifically, after the age of 70, a condition known as anabolic resistance, which is the gradual decline in your body's capacity to convert nutrients into muscle, bone, and for cellular repair, begins to accelerate. The remedy to this situation is beautifully straightforward. Make it a practice to call a friend or family member during at least one meal each day. Alternatively, keep the television tuned to a program you genuinely enjoy, rather than relying on it as mere background noise. Exploring virtual meal sharing groups, which are now widely accessible and often provided free of charge through senior community centers, is another excellent option. At number 10, we address the critical importance of neglecting your door and floor safety. Margaret, a 78-year-old resident of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, shared with me that she had resided in her home for 41 years and had never once considered her floors or the thresholds of her doorways as potential health hazards. Then, one Tuesday morning, her foot caught on the slight lip between her kitchen tiles and the living room carpet, resulting in a fractured hip. She subsequently spent 11 weeks in rehabilitation. Afterward, she confided in me, a sentiment I will never forget, that no one had ever taken the time to explain to her that these seemingly insignificant strips of flooring could pose life-altering risks. The statistics surrounding falls are indeed sobering. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, falls constitute the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries among adults aged 65 and older. Tragically, 1 in every 4 Americans in this age group experiences a fall each year. Crucially, the risk of sustaining a second fall within 6 months of the first is dramatically amplified. This heightened risk is often exacerbated by the fear of falling itself, which can alter one's gait and lead to reduced physical activity. I implore you to conduct a thorough inspection of your home today, adopting the mindset of a safety inspector. Remove or securely tape down any loose rugs. If you have not already done so, install grab bars beside your toilet and within your shower. Replace round doorknobs with lever-style handles, which are considerably easier to operate for hands affected by arthritis. Place non-slip strips at every doorway threshold. These are not admissions of frailty. Rather, they are intelligent and proactive acts of self-preservation. Our 9th point concerns taking medications without a structured system. While my intention is not to alarm you, it is imperative that you grasp this information clearly. Medication errors represent one of the most significant contributors to emergency room visits among older adults living alone. A study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society revealed that nearly 40% of adults over the age of 65 commit at least one significant medication error each week. These errors can range from missed doses and double doses to the dangerous combination of prescription medications with over-the-counter supplements. When you live alone, there is no second set of eyes to observe if you have inadvertently skipped your blood pressure pill or taken your evening dose twice. Following the age of 65, your liver and kidneys process medications at a slower rate than they did in younger years. Consequently, medication errors do not merely result in inconvenience. They can precipitate disproportionately severe physiological consequences. It is highly recommended to invest in a weekly pill organizer that clearly separates morning and evening doses. Implement phone alarms with specific labels, such as blood pressure pill morning, rather than relying on generic reminders. Critically, bring every single medication you are taking, including vitamins and herbal supplements, to your next doctor's appointment. Present them in a bag and request a comprehensive medication review. Studies have consistently shown that such reviews alone can reduce adverse drug events by as much as 35%. At number 8, we examine the detrimental effects of keeping your home excessively warm. This particular piece of advice tends to surprise many individuals. A common tendency among older adults, particularly those living alone, is to maintain a warmer than optimal home environment because they perceive feeling cold more readily. This perception of cold is physiologically accurate. After the age of 60, your circulatory system becomes less efficient at directing warm blood to your extremities, leading to genuinely colder hands and feet. However, chronically overheating your living space carries its own set of significant health risks. Research conducted at the University of Exeter found that adults who slept in rooms warmer than 75 degrees Fahrenheit experienced measurably worse sleep quality. This included reduced deep, slow-wave sleep and elevated nighttime cortisol levels. Deep sleep is a vital period during which your brain undertakes the critical process of clearing cellular debris through the glymphatic system, akin to a dishwasher that only runs after midnight. If the conditions are not conducive, this essential cleaning cycle cannot be completed. Over time, the accumulation of this cellular waste has been directly linked to cognitive decline. The ideal sleeping temperature for adults over 65 is between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. To achieve this, opt for warm, layered bedding instead of increasing the thermostat. Wearing warm socks to bed has also been shown in studies to help the body reach its optimal sleep temperature more quickly by facilitating heat dispersal from the core. Our 7th point addresses the profound impact of going days without physical touch or being touched. Robert, an 81-year-old gentleman from Spokane, Washington, a retired engineer and an individual of extraordinary self-sufficiency, shared with me during a consultation that he sometimes went 8 or 9 days without any form of physical contact with another human being. This meant no handshakes, no hugs, and no gentle hand on the shoulder. He did not believe this had any significant impact, as he felt mentally well. However, his inflammatory markers told a different story. The scientific evidence supporting the importance of human touch in older adults is exceptionally compelling. A study originating from the University of Miami's Touch Research Institute revealed that adults over the age of 70 who experienced regular physical contact, even non-sexual and non-intimate touch, such as a handshake or an arm pat, exhibited significantly lower levels of cortisol and interleukin-6. Interleukin-6 is an inflammatory protein strongly associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's disease, and accelerated cellular aging. When you live alone, it is imperative to be intentional about fostering physical connection. Schedule social activities that involve physical engagement, such as gentle yoga classes, dance groups specifically for seniors, or volunteer work that requires interaction with others. Consider acquiring a pet. Multiple studies, including one from the University of Missouri, have demonstrated that petting a dog for just 10 minutes can measurably reduce cortisol levels and increase oxytocin in adults of all ages, with particularly pronounced effects observed in older adults. At number 6, we discuss the critical importance of not ignoring your sense of purpose. And at this juncture, I would like to pause and ask you a question. If you are finding this information valuable, please take a moment to press the like button right now and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. We release new research-backed health content every single week tailored for adults like yourself, and your subscription is instrumental in making this channel possible. Thank you sincerely for your support. Now, let us return to point number 6, as this factor carries more weight, potentially even life or death significance, than most individuals ever realize. Purpose is not merely an abstract or soft concept. It is a measurable biological force. A landmark study conducted at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago meticulously followed over 1,500 adults aged 70 and older for a period of 7 years. Those who achieved the highest scores on a standardized purpose in life scale were found to be 2.4 times less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. They also exhibited lower rates of stroke and lived, on average, 7 years longer than those with the lowest purpose scores. 7 years. This is not merely a motivational statistic. It is a profound scientific revelation. When you live alone, especially following retirement, the external structures that once provided meaning to your days, such as a job, a structured schedule, and colleagues, gradually begin to recede. Without deliberate efforts to replace these structures, a slow physiological decline can ensue. Your body, at a cellular level, can respond to a perceived lack of relevance with elevated inflammatory cytokines and a diminished capacity for immune surveillance. It is therefore essential to actively cultivate purpose. This can involve teaching something to others, mentoring someone, joining a civic organization, starting a small container garden, documenting your life's memoirs, or volunteering at a library or hospital. The specific content of your purpose is far less significant than its consistency and depth. Our fifth point addresses the pervasive issue of living with chronic, low-grade dehydration. Elena, a 74-year-old woman from Phoenix, Arizona, sought my advice complaining of persistent fatigue, confusion in the late afternoons, and recurring urinary tract infections. She believed she was consuming a reasonable amount of fluid daily, approximately 4 to 5 cups. However, she resided in a hot, dry climate, and her body's natural thirst signals had long since ceased to function reliably. This is one of the most significantly underappreciated aspects of aging physiology. Your thirst mechanism, the crucial signal that alerts your brain to the need for water, deteriorates considerably after the age of 60. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older adults register thirst at a much higher level of dehydration compared to younger individuals. This means that by the time you actually feel thirsty, you are already significantly dehydrated. Even mild dehydration, equivalent to just 1 to 2% of your body weight, can impair cognitive function, increase the risk of falls, contribute to constipation, and accelerate stress on your kidneys. The prescribed solution is elegantly simple, yet it demands discipline because it often runs contrary to your body's own signals. Aim to consume 8 to 9 cups of fluid per day, prioritizing water, herbal teas, and broths. Set a timer every 90 minutes as a consistent hydration reminder. Keep a measured water bottle prominently displayed on your kitchen counter, rather than hidden away in a cabinet, as visual cues dramatically enhance compliance. Furthermore, pair your hydration habit with a small pinch of sea salt or an electrolyte supplement. This is important because, as we age, our kidneys become less efficient at retaining sodium, and plain water without minerals is retained less effectively by the body. At number 4, we tackle the critical issue of avoiding strength training because you believe it is exclusively for younger individuals. I encounter this misconception frequently, and it is a narrative that needs to be decisively addressed. The notion that strength training is solely for athletes or young bodies is one of the most detrimental myths pervading modern medicine. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine reviewed 49 separate studies involving adults ranging from 65 to 90 years of age. The findings were unequivocal. Progressive resistance training, which involves gradually increasing the weight or resistance over time, led to an average improvement in functional strength of 33%. It also resulted in a 40% reduction in the risk of falls and significant improvements in markers related to bone density, blood sugar regulation, and even depression. Here's why this is particularly critical for aging bodies. After the age of 50, individuals experience a loss of roughly 1 to 2% of their muscle mass annually, a process known as sarcopenia. After the age of 65, this rate accelerates. This loss is not merely about aesthetics. Muscle is your metabolic engine. It is the primary site for glucose uptake, meaning that reduced muscle mass translates directly to poorer blood sugar control and an increased risk of diabetes. Furthermore, muscle tissue produces anti-inflammatory compounds called myokines when it contracts. These myokines play a vital protective role for your brain, your heart, and your immune system. Fortunately, effective strength training does not require elaborate equipment. Resistance bands, a set of light dumbbells, and bodyweight exercises such as sit-to-stand repetitions from a chair, wall push-ups, and step-ups are all sufficient to provide a meaningful stimulus. Aim to incorporate 2 to 3 sessions per week. Crucially, pair your strength training sessions with a protein-rich meal within 2 hours of completion. This is because after the age of 70, a phenomenon known as the muscle protein synthesis response becomes blunted, meaning that you require both exercise and nutritional stimulus concurrently to maximize the anabolic signaling process. Our third point is a surprisingly abstract yet profoundly impactful one: allowing your home to become socially unwelcoming. This may sound almost philosophical, but I urge you to bear with me, as the research supporting this point is truly extraordinary. A study conducted by Brigham Young University and published in the journal PLOS Medicine analyzed data from over 3.4 million participants. The researchers concluded that social isolation carries a mortality risk equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes per day. Yes, per day, not per year. When you reside alone and gradually cease inviting people into your home, stop hosting gatherings, and stop making your living space a place that others feel drawn to visit, you embark on a slow descent into social isolation. This insidious process becomes extraordinarily difficult to reverse once it takes hold. The physical environment of your home itself begins to reflect and reinforce this isolation. Comfortable seating areas may diminish, the dining table might transform into a storage surface, and guest rooms often become de facto storage rooms. Unconsciously, the message conveyed, both to yourself and to potential visitors, is that connection is no longer a priority in this space. It is imperative to actively counteract this tendency in a deliberate and structural manner. Maintain a comfortable and welcoming seating area that is always prepared for guests. Schedule at least one regular in-home social event per month, even if it is simply inviting 2 neighbors over for tea. Keep your living space tidy enough that you would feel comfortable welcoming an unexpected visitor. This is not about superficial appearances. Rather, it is about cultivating a psychological state of readiness for connection, which has been demonstrably shown to increase actual social engagement. Now we arrive at number 2, the item I alluded to earlier, which I believe represents the single most underappreciated threat to independence for older adults living alone. This involves relying solely on emergency response systems rather than proactively implementing robust prevention and early detection mechanisms. Most older adults living alone have adopted a similar approach. If something goes wrong, I will call for help. They might have a cell phone, perhaps a family member's number prominently displayed on the refrigerator, or they may have even instructed a neighbor to check in if they do not observe any movement. They often believe this constitutes a comprehensive safety plan. However, it is fundamentally insufficient. A study conducted by the University of Toronto meticulously followed 1,200 adults over the age of 70 who lived alone for a period of 4 years. They discovered that in genuine medical emergencies, including falls, cardiac events, strokes, and sudden severe illnesses, the median time elapsed between the event occurring and help arriving was a staggering 4.6 hours when the plan relied solely on reactive communication. 4.6 hours. In the critical case of a stroke, where the effective treatment window for clot-dissolving therapy is roughly 3 hours, this delay can be the difference between full recovery and permanent disability or even death. The true solution requires a complete paradigm shift in your mental framework, moving from a reactive approach to one that prioritizes prevention and early detection. This entails investing in a medical alert device, and crucially, wearing it consistently, including during showers, where a disproportionate number of falls tragically occur. It involves establishing daily check-in systems, utilizing apps such as Snug or Life 365, which automatically alert designated contacts if you have not checked in by a predetermined time each morning. It also means informing your physician that you live alone, so that your discharge plans, medication instructions, and follow-up protocols are specifically calibrated for someone without in-home support. Furthermore, it necessitates having an honest and detailed conversation with at least 2 trusted individuals about precisely what steps to take if you become unreachable. This is not an exercise in pessimism, it is the antithesis of pessimism. Proactively architecting your safety infrastructure is what empowers you to live independently and confidently, secure in the knowledge that a comprehensive safety net is in place. And finally, at number 1, we address the abandonment of your brain's innate need for novelty and continuous learning. Of all the points discussed today, the scientific research underpinning number 1 is perhaps the most breathtaking and, importantly, the most hopeful. A study conducted at the University of Texas at Dallas and published in Psychological Science divided adults aged 60 to 90 into distinct groups. One group was tasked with learning a completely new, cognitively demanding skill, such as digital photography, quilting, or mastering a musical instrument. A second group engaged in familiar and comfortable activities like reading or solving crossword puzzles. A third group participated in purely social activities. After a mere 3 months, the group that actively learned genuinely new skills demonstrated significant improvements in episodic memory. These improvements were so pronounced that the researchers initially questioned the validity of their findings. They subsequently replicated the study and observed the exact same outcomes. The biological rationale behind this phenomenon is rooted in brain plasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to form new neural connections. Scientists now understand that this capacity persists far longer than was previously believed, but it critically requires genuine cognitive challenge to be activated. Familiar activities, even those that are mentally engaging, like crossword puzzles, operate along well-established neural pathways. They are akin to driving a road you have traversed 1,000 times. In contrast, learning genuinely new skills compels your brain to construct entirely new pathways. During this process of neural construction, something truly remarkable occurs. The hippocampus, your brain's central memory processing unit, which begins to shrink at an approximate rate of 1 to 2% per year after the age of 60, actually exhibits measurable volume preservation, and in some cases, even growth, in response to novel learning experiences. The practical implications for an individual living alone are profound. You cannot solely rely on your daily routine to provide the essential cognitive stimulation your brain requires to remain sharp. You must deliberately and proactively introduce novelty into your life. This can be achieved by learning a new language using a free application such as Duolingo. Consider taking an online cooking class that focuses on a cuisine completely unfamiliar to you. Learn to play a musical instrument like the ukulele. Engage in watercolor painting. Join a local theater group. Enroll in a beginner's class for something that makes you feel slightly nervous because you have never attempted it before. That very sensation of nervousness is the tangible evidence of new neural pathways forming. James, an 83-year-old man from Burlington, Vermont, began learning conversational Spanish at the age of 79 because his granddaughter was studying abroad in Mexico. He shared with me during a recent visit that his memory for names, which had been gradually deteriorating for years, had noticeably sharpened. His sleep quality had improved, and for the first time in many years, he genuinely looked forward to waking up each morning. This is the power of novelty. It not only serves to protect the brain, but also restores a profound sense of aliveness and forward momentum, a quality that no supplement, no medication, and no passive intervention can ever truly replicate. Here is my concluding thought for today. Living alone does not inherently mean living a diminished life. It does not have to equate to increased risk, pervasive isolation, or a gradual constriction of your world. Every single item on today's list was not presented as a dire warning about inevitable decline. Instead, consider it a comprehensive map, a map of specific, evidence-based, and actionable changes that, when compounded over months and years, can lead to a life that is richer, safer, sharper, and more connected than you might have previously imagined possible at this stage. The scientific evidence is unequivocally clear. It is never too late. Adults in their 80s and 90s who commence strength training programs demonstrate measurable muscle regeneration. Individuals who embrace novel learning experiences exhibit tangible brain changes within mere weeks. Adults who proactively establish robust safety systems and cultivate supportive social architectures experience genuinely improved health outcomes, not in some distant future, but relatively soon. Your independence is not something that simply erodes with the passage of time. It is something that you can actively architect and steadfastly defend through knowledge, intentionality, and a willingness to embrace a few key changes. And the good news is, you are capable of making these changes. You deserve to feel secure and safe within your own home. You deserve to feel engaged, purposeful, and deeply connected to others. And you deserve access to honest, research-backed information that empowers you to make meaningful decisions rather than merely offering reassuring platitudes. All scientific references cited throughout this presentation are meticulously linked in the description box below. I encourage you to review them, share them with your physician, and bring any questions you may have to your next medical appointment. If this video has provided genuine value to your life today, please subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell to ensure you never miss our weekly releases. And most importantly, I am eager to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Which of these 12 points surprised you the most, and which one are you committing to working on first? Please share your responses below. I will be personally reading every single one.